Okay. So good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome. Again, as you start your new week or you're on the threshold of starting a new week, if you're in US, hope you all had a great Father's Day as well. So let's get started with today's session. I'm going to share my screen and we will get started by taking the blessings of God and Guru. Let me share my screen. All right. So yeah, let's get started. Sec. Yes. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, all of you. So today we will pick up a topic. It's more of a complementary topic to the discussions that we are having currently. But since we pick up a shloka, we will continue to pick 4.8, and I'm going to selectively pick up a word. And how does one of the great elements or skills that can help us attain that is what we are going to focus on. So we are on 4.8. So let me provide a bit of a context of what we are going to discuss today. So this is a shloka. We spoke about the real reason behind God's dissension. And today we will talk about how do we become righteous, right? In order for us to become righteous, there are the Gyanindriyas we take reference from, right? Our knowledge, of course, we gain knowledge through our eyes, through our ears, through the sense of touch, smell, pretty much all the five senses that we have, right? And what we contemplate after we get that. And one of the most important one is what we take through our ears, right? And what it takes to be a good listener. What are the different categories of Shrota or listeners that our scriptures call out, and which category do we aspire to belong to? Okay, so the more effectively we can listen or understand or pick up the message, the more our odds of aligning to the righteous principles are. It's only the knowledge that get filtered through our ears, and then the contemplation that we bring to it results in the actions we end up taking, right? So if we have to belong to the category of righteous for whom God descends specifically, listening is a very important part. Okay, even during the sessions, during the discourses, what we end up to choose to listen or what we end up picking up listening is what we are going to talk about. Can we consciously inculcate certain things to become better listeners? And that is what we are going to focus on today. But we'll pick up this shloka, and you're welcome to follow along. Paritranaya sadhunam Vinashaya cha dushkritam Dharma sansthapanarthaya Sambhavami yuge yuge. All right.
Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Sam.
Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanardhaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Radhe nice. Radhe Radhe. Okay, we can pick a few more hands.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Dinesh.
Radhe Radhe. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. राधे
Nice.
राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Shyam ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशायश्च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. Radhe.
Nice. Thank you, Shyamji.
Prashanta ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Prashanta. Good
Radhe
to see you.
Long time. Thank you. Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha duskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's take the remaining hands real quick.
Prabhat Bhaiya, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Paritranaaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Very nice. Thank you, Prabhat. All right, let's take the remaining hands as well.
Yes, Tarun ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. Sorry, pronunciation got a bit
No
into
worries.
two.
All right, great. Lakshmi ji, done video.
Yes, Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Lakshmi ji.
Paritranaaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Lakshmi ji.
We have two hands without video on. Shall I take them as well, Nitin ji?
So you go ahead, and then we will basically, yeah, let's take, that's fine. We just have two more hands, right? So go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and then I'll.
Sure.
Paritranaaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Nice, thank you. All right, let's take the remaining hands as well.
Yes, Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Paritranaaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge.
Right, last but not the least, Riya ji, please.
Yes, Riya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Riya ji.
परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Very nice. Thank you, Riya ji. All right, let's get started. So this shloka, Lord Krishna said to protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to reestablish the principles of dharma, I appear on this earth age after age. We'll do a quick recap, the slide that we had seen, and then we get into the topic of our discussion today. To establish dharma, Lord had said, to annihilate the wicked and to protect the righteous. So establishing dharma is already established. We spoke about that God can establish it through a saint. He does not need to descend himself in his personal form to accomplish it. It's like he can get it done fairly easily. He doesn't have to get down from, to actually take on a form to get that accomplished. So we spoke about this concept that these three reasons that God is giving, that is, he's provided that. But then the deeper meaning about it is that he actually descends so that he can reveal his pastimes for the benefit of devotees, in the years to come. Some kind of a basis he provides for devotion. He can kill wicked just like that. I mean, at the snap of a finger, he can kill. Same thing, he can establish a dharma through a saint. It's like to basically kill a mosquito, you don't need a nuclear missile, right? So why does he have to do so much of stuff? So there's a real purpose of his dissension is much deeper. He wants to reveal his nature so that he can provide a basis for devotion to the devotees in the years to come. So today we are going to talk about to protect the righteous. Now, how do we become righteous? Right? Now, God descends specifically for people who are sadhus. Sadhu doesn't mean you become a Baba. At least if you are able to align to the spiritual principles, understand it. First of all, our filters are very, it's like we all have our filters based on our understanding. And those filters are applied to whatever we listen to. We pick up selectively stuff that is convenient to us. This makes sense. This doesn't. So this is what the real meaning is. And that is where there's an opportunity for all of us to get better at that. Right. So let's get started on this topic. We are going to focus on what are the different kinds of listeners and what are some of the good listening skills to acquire. What are some of the filters we can apply which can work to our advantage as opposed to working to our detriment. So let's get started. For Bhagavad Gita, let's first talk about Bhagavad Gita here itself. See, when we read Bhagavad Gita, first time, read or listen to Bhagavad Gita. Again, listening is an integral part of our spiritual growth. We have to listen, right? Through our ears, we gain knowledge. We listen to something and then it goes to our mind and then we contemplate upon it. So when you read or listen to Bhagavad Gita, you'll get something out of it. It's like a light bulb moment you may have. Then you read it for the second time, you'll say, oh my God, I understood a little more, something more clicked now. And then you read for the third time, a little more. And then the fourth time, little more. Fifth time, little more, you see what's going on here? As your bucket keeps on expanding, you are able to take more and more out of the ocean that is lying in front of you. Okay. So this is typically how it goes. So you can never say this shloka I have gone through and I've understood it. The same shloka, you will peel more and more and more layers, because we spoke about this concept. This knowledge is not a static knowledge. God has put in his Chitta Shakti into it. So the more purer and more bigger your vessel is, the more import you will be able to acquire out of it. This is how this goes. And so if you look at it, it's called, like in economics, you have law of diminishing returns. Here you have law of enhancing returns. And you extract as much as the size of your vessel. And every read and listen, both, deepens our understanding incrementally. So the listening part is very, very important even in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, what are we able to understand? What is it that we are choosing to focus on? And what are our filters? If we can mindfully understand those, then we can actually use it to our advantage. All right. So let's move. Word listen contains the same letters as the word silent. Alfred Brendel had said that. In fact, it is said that don't speak unless it improves the quality of silence. That is how important silence is. And we'll focus, let's move on to the listening part of it. So God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That basically tells us that we are supposed to listen twice as much as we speak, okay, ideally. Now let's talk about the listeners here. Our scriptures say that there are superior listeners and then there are poor listeners. Now first, let's get started with what are the superior listeners. It is called Pravar Shrota. We'll get into those details. Then we have under Pravar Shrota, we have Avar Shrota. On the other hand, we have Avar Shrota. Then here we have under Pravar Shrota, we have Chatak, Hans, Shuk, and Meen Shrota. Okay, this mean is Hindi word mean, not the English word mean. Okay, in case you're thinking mean Shrota. And then you have Avar Shrota. What are the Avar Shrotas? They are interesting categories. You have Vrish, Vrik, and Ushtr. These three categories of Shrotas are there. So let's know a little bit more about these shlokas. But like I said, if you look, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listening is very important. God has given us 2 because he wants us to really listen carefully and listen twice as much we speak. Okay, so let's get started on this. Understand the different categories of these shrotas. So poor listeners, we'll start with poor listeners. This is what our scriptures say are who are poor listeners. What are some of the symptoms of the poor listeners? The first one is Vrish. Vrish means wolf. So these are the people who do not pay attention to the precepts of saints and don't let others follow them either. While a God-realized saint is explaining the precepts of external and divine Vedas, they talk and distract others as well. You've seen people who neither would believe nor would encourage. Forget about encourage, they would discourage. What is this going on? Okay, why do you have to listen to all these babas? It is all waste of time. And then they'll pick up some examples in the media and say, you know what, all these babas, they talk the same thing and they do the same thing. So they are poor listeners. They don't have faith in Shastra or Sadhu or in Satsang. And not only that, the worst thing is they would discourage people. So it's like we say there's a term in English saying music to ears. And it is just the opposite. It is noise to ears for them. Okay, it's like I cannot stand this kind of a deal. Okay, so they are called Vrishrotas. So the symptoms for them is they will not pay attention. First of all, it will not click, it will not get into their head. And secondly, they would discourage people as well and talk negative about it. Okay, they are the Vrish ones. The second one is called Ushtr. This is an interesting one, which is a camel. You see, it has 2 humpbacks for some reason. Now, this Ushtr it eats only bitter stuff. So they would like to listen to only worldly matters. Okay, these Shrotas, they are interested only in worldly matters. They don't relish spiritual topics at all. Okay. There was a man who didn't want to listen to the names of God, so he tied bells in his ears. And hearing anyone pronouncing the name of God, he would shake his head to ring those bells so that he could not hear those words. So they can go on to the extent of putting, those kind of filters to their head. He was an Ushta Shrota. So Ushta Shrota, you can relate to it very easily. You talk about any topic and they'll be like deer caught between headlights, completely lose interest. You tell them some gossip going on in the neighborhood, or all of a sudden, their eyes will start sparkling. Why? Because it's like the flies, they get attracted to the filthy stuff. The worldly stuff captivates their imagination fairly quickly, very quickly. Okay, tell me what's going on. What's the scoop in life, man? What's going on with that person's life? Worldly matters, gossips, all that stuff catches their attention. And when it comes to spiritual topic, it's like, okay, don't be philosophical. Who has seen life after that? Don't give me all this stuff, or I don't have time for all this. Okay. So they only get attracted to bitter stuff. Okay. So they are called Ushtra Shrota. Then what is the other category? This is an interesting one. This is called a bull. Now, what does bull do? Bull equally relishes, most of the people fall into this category. Okay. They equally relish bitter neem leaves and sweets. Okay. You give them leaves, they will eat it. You give them sweet laddu, they'll eat it. You let them good, they'll eat it. So they listen to divine information and also worldly, equally disposed to both. Both are relished. So they are called Vrik. Most will fall into this category, bull category. So not only divine topics, yeah. It's so nice listening to, Babaji and Swamiji, completely makes sense. And then you take them to worldly topic, they say, yeah, that is true. So they enjoy both. And it is called Vrik Shrota. Okay. So these are the poor listeners as scriptures talk about. Then who are the good listeners then? Okay. If these are the bad or the poor listeners, so Vrish, see, the Vrish ones, you would come across. Ushtra also you will come across. Vrik is what the tendencies all of us have, right? Vrik tendency that needs to be reduced over time to become better listeners, because we enjoy both the topics, okay, to varying degrees, and that has to be reduced and increased. So now, if these are the poor listeners, what are the good listeners we can model after? So let's look at those as well. Who are the good listeners that our scriptures talk about? They are called pravar shrotas, superior listeners. The first one is Shuk. Now, Shuk is parrot. Parrot has the ability to memorize whatever is said and can repeat it back. It does not necessarily understand anything that it is saying. Similarly, these listeners listen attentively and repeat back everything as it is. No issues repeating back, okay? When I read it for the first time, I said, okay, this is where I belong to, Vrik and parrot categories. So, but then I've seen people who are better parrots than me. You tell them things, they can narrate it back, recite it immediately back, tuck, tuck, tuck. You ask a concept, zero. No understanding of the concept. But when it comes to narrating something that they have heard, they will narrate as if, they can break all the records in memorization and everything. So they're called parrot listeners. I'm trying to become a better parrot now, but that is how I started, and still a parrot. And Vrik, of course. So they have the ability to memorize. At least a good parrot is better. You can at least memorize, and then hopefully you can contemplate and then understanding it as well. So becoming a parrot is a good thing to begin with. And then, but conceptually, they will not understand anything. They will listen very attentively and repeat back as well, but they don't put it into practice. This is the biggest flaw of the parrot. Okay, but they are considered in a good listener category. The second one is mean. Okay, mean, I said it is not MEAN, it is MEEN. In this case, mean is like in mean Rashi, fish. This is a very interesting one. Mean means fish. It remains submerged in water and silently enjoys the water. It doesn't make any noise, right? The buttock and the duck may be pedaling hard and making a little bit of noise inside, but fish is like smooth. What it does is, these listeners, they don't exhibit their devotion externally, but they are quietly absorbing everything like a sponge. They are relishing it also, and they're absorbing it also. So they just get it, okay, and they relish it, and they quietly move on. Okay, those kind of listeners are called mean shruta. They just know it's clicking. Everything is getting inside them. Okay, those are called mean shrutas. What is the next category? They are called Hans Shruta. Hans, we know it's a swan, is a bird. It congregates typically in a mountain lakes, good places. Like crows, they congregate usually on garbage cans. Hans, they have a tendency to congregate in a quiet, placid, beautiful mountain lakes. Now, Hans has a unique ability. What is that ability? It can discriminate between milk and water. When you give it both, it will drink the milk and leave the water behind. So the perception of Hans is it can perceive both milk and water. So that means opposite, just if you think about it. So what happens, like, okay, let me explain it and then I'll get to that. So they will listen to everything, but take only the information useful to them. So they are able to cut between meaningful and noise. Take only the meaningful thing and remove the noise in their head. Okay. And they can discriminate between what is worth retaining and what is not. And they are called Hans Shrota. They are just the opposite of Vrik. Vrik, no matter what you give it, it will have it. Hans will discriminate and take only the part that is meaningful, that is beneficial, and reject the part which is not adding any value. Okay. In our scriptures, Hans and Paramhans is used pretty widely as well, right? So let's understand the difference between Hans and Paramhans. Hans actually is which can differentiate between milk and water, takes the milk, leaves the water. And Paramhans is the one for which everything is milk. So Hans can see divinity and world, it can differentiate and leave the worldly part. For a Paramhans, everything is divinity. That is the difference. So Shukdev, between Shukdev and his father was Vedavyas. Shukdev was a Paramhans when he came, right? He was for 12 years in his mother's womb. He did not come out for fear of Maya. Not fear of Maya, it should not be fear, but he said Maya is so powerful, it can, grab my mind, so I'm not going to come. So and then after 12 years, he came out and immediately assumed the body of a 12-year-old. So he was considered a Paramhans. And then his father, Vedvyas, so there was an incident that happened. So when he came out of his mother's womb, he quietly walked off to the forest. And on the way, some ladies were taking bath. And they continued with that activity. And his father, he followed him, Vedvyas. When he followed him, they immediately started putting on clothes. So he became a little, inquisitive about it. He said, why did you do that? My son just walked away. You didn't care to do that. And when I'm walking, you are becoming conscious. Why is it the matter? He said, because your son is Paramhans and you are a Hans. Okay, ladies didn't say that way. He said, when he walked away, his eyes, you can make out looking at the eyes that nothing changed. He just kept on walking. But when you came, something changed in your eyes. It could be because of anger, that what are they doing, or whatever the case may be, but they could notice that difference. Now, Vedvyas himself was also Paramhans, but in order for him to descend down, he took on a form, he has to operate as a Hans, otherwise he cannot preach or write. He was also a Paramhans. The point here is, the Paramhans, he sees divinity everywhere. He does not see worldly thing at all. But a Hans is able to discriminate and then take only the divine part and reject the worldly part. That is the difference between a Hans and a Paramhans. And similarly, a Hans listener will focus on, okay, this is something which is of substance that I need to grasp, and rest I'm going to reject it. Now, the best listener, let's listen about it. Okay, it is a very high stage of that listener. Okay, just imagine the kind of listener that would be is called Chatak. Now, Chatak bird, skylark, it drinks rainwater that falls in the constellation named Swati Nakshatra. Even if it is dying of thirst, it does not drink any other water. Similarly, this type of listeners only listen to things pertinent to their own devotional path. They are not interested in exploring other paths and philosophies or other things. Sometimes, we start subscribing to too many philosophies, listening to things, talking about things, debating about things, asking questions, this, that. Now, Chatak is so clear about what it wants to take. It would die of thirst, but it will not take or devour anything other than the rainwater that is falling in Swati Nakshatra. So that level of listener is like, okay, I'm going to take the best of the best of the best, only the cream, and not compromise on that at all. Okay, they don't even listen to things which they know are not going to add any value to me. Okay, so even if it's 50-50 or 90-10, 90 devotional, 10 worldly, they will not even do it. They want the best of the best and only pertain to the things or subscribe to things and philosophies that add devotion to them. And that is the top level of any Shrota, which is a Chatak. Okay, any questions so far? Before I get any further. Any question on what we have discussed and spoken about so far? Is it a new concept for you, or I think I'd done it long back in one of the sessions previously as well? Yes, let's take a few hands.
Samji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Is Paramhamsa superior than Chatak?
See, it's talking about listening ability here, right? So Paramhans will be a Chatak only, right? They will listen to only things that are adding to their devotion. Why would they take anything else other than that?
But Swamiji listens to us also, our problems, everything.
See, when you have to operate, right? I said Shukdev was a Paramhans. He came with a purpose, right? And where he recited Bhagavatam to Parikshit, right? And that was his purpose. But when saints come, they have to become Hans to operate effectively in this world, like Vedavyas did. So they may descend down. Now, if you talk about a saint, they don't even have to come down in that case, right? Why would they even come down if they want to enjoy the Chatak status only? So they downgrade themselves a level at a level where they can operate effectively in this world with people like us. Make sense?
Actually,
If a PhD continues to be a PhD, then how will he operate with elementary kids, right? So they come down consciously. They come down, although they are not downgraded. They are still in that status, but to operate effectively for the benefit of us, they take a step down. That's about it. Yes.
yeah. In case of Shukshota, is it a mandate that they will not understand what they are repeating?
In the case of, sorry?
Shuk, the Tota, Shota.
But I mean, what it is saying is their focus is more on memorization and recitation. You've seen a lot of scholars, tuck, they will do Vedic mantras and shloka, but then their focus is more on acquisition of knowledge, memorization of knowledge, as opposed to the practical implementation of it or thinking of it in depth. So yes, they might be understanding part of it, but their predominant thing is memorization. Not so much. If you look at so many pandits, tuck mantra, you start talking to them about philosophy or tattva gyan, they'll say, okay, out of syllabus for us. Okay, I only know the mantras that I have to recite when somebody is born or somebody dies. Don't ask me any deeper things, okay, around it. So that is the primary focus, and that's where typically they are capped at. That's essentially what it means. Okay, no offense to pandits, by the way. Okay, I hope nobody sues me for that, but what I'm telling you, typical, okay, because they're more focused on the semantics part of it, the ritualistic part of it, as opposed to the true import behind it. Not everybody, but exceptions are always there. Yeah.
Right. Like my question was more like if there is someone who has memorized things and also understood, will
Then
they
it's
still be called Shuk or not?
if they have started practically implementing it as well, right, then they are becoming less of a shuk and more of a hans or a mean shrota in that case, until they become chatak, right? So it's a progression kind of a deal.
Okay, so there is hierarchy that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's important to, practice devotion as opposed to knowing things, right? See, if you knew all the recipes in the world, but you never cook for anybody or cook for yourself, what's the point? So it's not about knowing how to make gulab jamun, but eat it too.
Cool. Yeah. Tarunji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe ji, Radhe Sanjay. So I have two quick question. First is from where these category of Shota is taken. As it is, slide is 256, 2.56. Is it Bhagavad Gita 2.56?
No, Bhagavad Gita, it's not in Bhagavad Gita. I take opportunity to go refer to other, scriptures basically that Swamiji and Maharajji talk about, and they pull it from all the scriptures. So I look at opportunities where I can add to it. So it's not directly related to 4.8 if you look at it, but I'm mapping it to saying, okay, this is, if you want to become righteous, of course, listening is an integral part of it. And then as part of listening, what are the things we can focus on so that we are getting the true import of Bhagavad Gita, so that we become sadhu, for which God is descending. Okay. If we have to have that eligibility, right? So I map it loosely, but it's not directly in Bhagavad Gita, if that's what your question is. I usually refer to Maharajji's and Swamiji's discourses and then try to bring in those concepts, which are more like a supplemental or a dose, right? When we take antibiotics, we take some supplements along with it. So this is kind of a supplement I bring in from time to time.
Okay, great. Just one more quick question. So the Hans and Chatak, when you describe, you said the Hans is this Chatak is the one who will, you said that some people got into multiple philosophy. And so my question was that in order to know what exactly is philosophy suiting to us, we sometimes need to go to couple of philosophy and then
Yes,
maybe we can filter on.
So that is a very part of our progression. Basically, it happens. You cannot simply subscribe to a philosophy right from the word go. Right?
Yeah.
So to begin, yes, we do that. We do that. But some people, they take it so far that they spend their entire life doing it only. So once you start understanding something, and then it's like you are resonating with it, and it makes sense. Then you start deepening it. Not doing an experiment, because it becomes a pursuit or a passion at that point, listening to everyone and then making some kind of a khichdi in your head. That is the whole idea. So experimentation is good. That is how we do that, right? We do, even while shopping, we look at options, what suits us best, and this path is no different. Typically, more than you finding the path finds you, because this is not the first life in which we are doing devotion, or we are trying to align to spiritual principles. We have done it a lot of times in the past as well. So typically our sanskars will lead us to something that will immediately appeal to us, right? So that is how it happens. But if we make just the pursuit of knowledge and acquiring here and there and listening to everybody, so it becomes a hobby. I'm telling you, some people, they just enjoy, which is a good thing. I mean, and, you're sitting in satsang, but they will keep on sitting in satsang for the rest of their life, and every satsang, so that philosophy is like all over the place in their head in that case, right? And then the practical application of it also takes a backseat, because you just enjoy. It's like kano ki shuddhi, right? They say only purifying your ears, not your antakaran at that point. Yeah. So that is the idea.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Yes. Few more hands, I see.
Falguni ji, you had your video on, you turned it off.
Yes, Falguni ji.
Yes, awesome. I'll take you first, Radhe
Yeah.
Radhe.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Achha, my question is that these different categories into which we have put the listeners, right? So I know my question may sound a little foolish, but does it have to do anything with the physical ability of a person, mental, like not physical, the mental ability? Because some people have very good listening skills or very excellent memory, and they can remember everything. So does it relate to that kind of a thing? I'm not very sure whether whether that is possible or not. I mean,
yeah. See, the physical aspect, you cannot be discounted for sure. But that is also, if you have become a good listener, maybe that is something that is bestowed to you as a gift by God because of the, some of the practices you have done in the past. In fact, listening is such a great skill that people can make a career out of it. You've looked at Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah,
Oprah Winfrey. People go and reveal their, deepest secrets, and they don't mind sharing it with us because she comes across as such a great listener. Now, does she put her ear very close to your mouth? No. Something she does which appeals to them. By the way, Bill Clinton was known to be a very great listener as well. And some of the people have become successful just by being a good listener in life, like Oprah Winfrey, even Simi Grewal. She used to do, I think, Rendezvous with Simi Grewal. I saw some celebrities pouring their heart out to her as if they were waiting for this opportunity to come on, national television and reveal their secrets. What made them do that? They are good listeners. And it's like every pore and fiber of their body is directed towards you. They are just zoomed in. And I've seen that with some of the, great leaders, even in corporate life, who work with you. They may be having tons of things going on in their life or in office. But when they are with you for those 15 minutes, they are with you, zoned in. Speak with Swamiji sometimes, he's zoned in with you at that moment. So that is the quality. So your point is physical part of it. Yes. See, Ivaran memory in that sense is like a muscle, right? That's why they say if you do Sudoku, or if you have a passion, or if you have an agenda in life, a motive in life, you can keep your gray cells active for a longer duration. So yes, that element is definitely there. And then part of it is inherited as well. Some great listeners, they just have that ability. Maybe they have worked on it in their past lives and God has given to them as a gift. But the point is, no matter where we are, we can always become one notch better from there, right? Once we understand these principles, that is the whole idea. And hope that we will get a good end of the deal in our next life where, part of it is gifted to us, where we don't have to put in hard work. But memory aspect of it, I get it. Over time we get dementia and other things. But that aspect also, we should try to take control of it as best as we can. Other few things to happen through prarabdha we can't control. But as long as we are conscious, alive, if we have these things in our mind, okay, I'm going to put my thinking filters on, only listen to good things, not contemplate about bad things, then these practices should help us basically, and try to put it to practice. What I listen, little bit of knowledge I've understood, I'll put it to practice, as opposed to acquiring tons of it and putting none to practice.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Awesome. Shri Ramya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shivam.
Radhe Radhe. So the Chatak part was I had a bit of questions there because I've not been able to reach there. In fact, I've not been able to reach a mean also, but still aspiring for a Chatak. So the Chatak, how does it know that the other philosophies are the other philosophies? It would have listened to the other philosophies before it became a Chatak, and it could have learned to differentiate, right? That this aligns to my philosophy and this does not align to my devotional path. Like, how does it know that only this is? It's like it is said that, you know, to know which is the best wine, you should drink a little bit of all wines and only you get to know. Like before coming to Swamiji also, like when I was a part of different organization, I was told that don't listen to anyone else, listen only to this, be like a Chatak. But I didn't listen to the advice I heard to Swamiji, and I came here. So my fear is if somebody tells listen only to this, I will get scared. I feel like running away from that place, to be very honest. So that is something which I'm not able to reconcile. Second thing is, what if I'm listening to other philosophies also, and if I'm reconciling the other philosophy to this, I was like, yeah, this is also what somebody said, perfect. And if I'm able to integrate both, in these cases, is it okay to listen to other philosophies?
Yeah, I mean, that is fine, perfectly okay. See, you will after a while, you will come to a stage where you are able to listen and you know what is meaningful for me, okay? Is it contradicting your existing stuff, causing confusion, or it is reinforcing it? You will get to that stage. And when you're getting to that stage, you're automatically making progress in that case, right? You just know that, okay, this part is, see, this initially when I used to listen to, I mean, not that I've come, I mean, it's an ongoing process. I used to think there are so many philosophies. You know, they're talking this, somebody says this, somebody says sign, somebody says butterfly effect, and this and that. So many philosophies, theories are there. But after a while, when you start, you know, getting a little more understanding, you see there is a common denominator in most of the things. And then you start even understanding that they are exploring it at a surface and they are going at a layer deeper. So when that discrimination starts happening in your head, you're perfectly okay at that point. You know what to take and what to reject or what to reinforce, kind of a deal. But I get your point. You know, it's the Chatak doesn't become Chatak overnight. He would have gone through mean, shuk, hunt stage to reach that stage where the Chatak just knows this is the only thing I'm going to take. I'm going to drink only Coke, no Pepsi, nothing else. Okay. It reaches that stage after a while. It would have been an evolutionary journey for a Chatak as well, right? But it reached that stage where it knows it is very selective. You know, see, people are very selective. I'm going to do this or I'm going to eat this, otherwise I'm not going to. So it's a bit of a journey in that case. And then God is seated within you, right? If you are approaching things with a good intent, it will lead you to the next message somehow. And when you get to the next message, you will see the difference between previous message and next message, the commonality and the difference. That also you'll be able to appreciate. And then you'll reach a stage where you're not only able to appreciate, but make a choice that I'm going to selectively focus on this, because if I continue to explore this, it's not adding value beyond a point. So that stage also you will come, right? So Chatak is a journey, not a function that happens overnight, kind of a deal.
So if I'm a brick, I need not be disappointed. I can
Most of us are bricks. Most of us are bricks only.
Okay, thank you.
Brick by brick, we will dismantle this brick, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Prashanta ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. I actually want to know that in this philosophy, you know, we go through lots of knowledge and lots of philosophies, as you say. So while knowing and understanding that, can we synthesize those philosophies and, you know, mix it with our experiences in life and create our own philosophy? Is
Yep,
that a possibility?
you can do that, but the risk is that how much of it does actually aligns to the scriptural part, and how much is a concoction of your own mind, your own intellect. We will never know, right? So it can become a little risky proposition when you start creating. A lot of people do that, right? They philosophize, write book. Bhagavad Gita is written by so many people. What is that? Philosophy. Right? Some reducing to metaphors, saying that these horses are nothing but a metaphor for our indriyas, and then all that. So that can happen. The risk there is you may end up trivializing it because our intellect is not perfect, right? It is still made up of Maya, material mind. So it is a safer policy to align to a philosophy of somebody whom you have a good reason to believe is a saint, who is not only scripturally well versed but also practically realized. If we start creating our philosophy, the risk is it may lead us astray. Okay, first of all, false pride can come. I have philosophized. Secondly, it can lead us astray because it may or may not be correct, right? And mostly it will not be correct because unless you are a realized person, all that you are playing with is in Maya, right? Your intellect is also made up of Maya. And at best, it can relate to things that it has experienced or seen in multiple lifetimes or in this particular lifetime. So it can never be perfect.
Okay. Now, another, I just want to know, Brish means, I thought Brish means Sade, that Nandi. You said it is a wolf. So I was a bit confused there.
Brish means, sorry. Vrish, it's Vrik and Vrish.
Okay. Okay. I was a bit confused there because, I thought
or Brick or the other way around. I can double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's the other. This might be the case, but I can check that. If you think Vrick should be Vrish and Vrish should be Vrick, I can check that out.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you for calling that out.
Okay. Rather. Thank you.
Yes. By the way, I wanted to. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Anya.
No, yeah, there's a question in the chat that I wanted to read. So, not directly related to what we are discussing, but if God is sitting within us, then what is the purpose of our life? If any younger one asks us, how should we respond to this question? That's
God, what is the purpose? Yeah, God is seated within us because there are two birds, they say, right? One is enjoying the fruits, other is noting or being a witness. So God is a silent witness within us. He's given us this opportunity to become like him, as perfect as we are. And until we become like that, he's simply noting down our karma. So it's like a he's just perfect justice dispensing father. He's sitting inside, he's just noting it down and giving us the results of our karmas. The purpose of life is a pretty deeper question, right? Purpose of life is to become the best version of ourselves, to become happy, to become as perfect as God one day. And then God is seated within to give us all basically the life force, so to say. He's the soul of our soul. If God is, he gets out of our body or out of our soul, then there is no sustenance. We'll not have life at all, right? It's a very deeper question, but more nuanced conversation is needed, which we have covered in multiple sessions. But yeah, he's seated within because it's the entire creation is by God only. Every atom of this universe is permeated by God, right? So he's sustaining everything and he's giving us an opportunity to become like him. Like a father wants his son to become the best of the best of the best, he's also giving us that opportunity. The problem is happening because we are too busy playing our ghar ghar. Okay, rather than thinking about God, who's the basis of our existence, we start playing a game with the people around. And we are so busy playing that game that we don't want to get out of this cycle. And that's why God says, okay, you want to play this game, but there are rules. And as part of that rule, there will be results and consequences as well. And we are willing to pay that. That is why we keep repeating here. Okay. By the way, I wanted to talk a little bit about, now that we have spoken about listener, let's take a couple of questions and maybe I can talk if time is there. Yes.
Can you hear us? Shweta ji? We can't hear her.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Shweta ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe everyone. I have a couple of things to add probably. I think one lady mentioned that the physiological aspect of Indriya. I think Surdas was God realized sent. So I'm not sure if all your faculties have to be intact. And Maharaj ji says, Krupalji Maharaj always say that Indriya साथ में रहे तो अच्छी बात है, लेकिन मन होना चाहिए. So mind is the most important factor in doing sadhana. And another thing was, I think we were trying to put all those Hans Paramhans in these categories. But according to Krupalaji Maharaj, the three most important aspects of Navda Bhakti is Shravan, Kirtan, and Manan. So these are the rudimentary steps we are going through. And at the while we talk about these different types of listeners, they are not yet God realized. So God realizes like they have put knowledge, they have put it in the practice, and they are God realized. So I don't see how we can put them in these categories. I mean, it's a question for me. So that's about it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Radha.
Thank you, Shwetaji. Yeah, I mean, these are not God realized. We are not talking about God realized. We are just talking about people, mundane, mundane, ordinary people, which category they can typically fall into, right? So it doesn't mean that we're talking about God realized people here for these categories. And yes, we are talking about the Shravan aspect of it. Manan and Chintan is a topic in itself. When we talk about Shravan, what are the different categories you can fall into while doing Shravan is what we are discussing today. But thank you for pointing it out. Yes.
And Maiji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Meji.
Radhe Radhe. Nitinji, is it possible that the God realized saints talks in telepathic mode? Is it possible?
Telepathic mode, anything
Like
is
they
possible.
understand thoughts, and we also like do we communicate? Like, is it
If
possible?
they have a disciple who has reached a certain level, of course they can work through telepathy, right? There's not everything is possible for them. But if there is a disciple who has reached a certain level, yeah, there is a possibility they are talking in telepathic terms as well. They don't have to be present in person and be speaking in the ear directly in physical form. It is quite possible.
Nitinji, I have one serious doubt. Like, if we perform Roop Dhyan and we assign characters like to Swamiji, to Jagat Kripaluji, to God, to everyone, and if we start communicating in our mind, so there are certain facts that pops up which is not possible, and if we verify it is a fact, so it's something scary. Like,
Scary? Why would it be scary? I mean,
like I have done it in our like this is possible in rope dhyan technique, but how do I confirm it? Like it becomes
Swamiji, you have to confirm with Swamiji. It's a right question to a wrong person. Okay, confirm it with Swamiji. Okay, say you are coming in telepathy and giving me answers, and most of them are facts, so I'm getting scared. So see what.
yes, this is happening. This is happening.
So you ask him this question, okay, and see what he has to tell about it. But it's good if you are experiencing something telepathic. I think you are cutting a corner. So keep progressing. I mean, there's nothing to be scared about, right? We should not even be scared about ghosts by that matter, right? So why be scared about telepathy?
Ghost does exist. Oh my god, yeah. We
Ghosts are
can
perfect.
feel the presence.
No worries about it. But ask it to Swamiji, okay? Let's take
Okay.
another. Okay. So yes, I see a couple of hands. By the way, quick thing, we have talked about listeners talking also. Let's talk about before speaking. I like this part, so I thought I'll bring it to the session as well. So Buddha had given these 5 principles, filter test. Okay, I'll bring in, there are different lenses you can employ, but I like this one. So I thought, so whenever we talk something, it should be factual and true. It should be helpful or beneficial. It should be spoken with kindness, goodwill, that is hoping for the best for all involved. Endearing, that is spoken gently in a way the other person can hear. I need to work on it. And then timely. Occasionally something true, helpful and kind will not be endearing or somebody to hear, in which case we think carefully about when to say it. To timing matters as well. So we all need to basically see, it's very difficult to apply all the 5 filters, but it's kind of a framework, high framework that we can typically look at, or there's a 3 filter test also I'll bring in, but I liked it. It's very difficult, but that is the state that at least Buddha had spoken about. It's better to keep quiet, basically. Essentially, that's what it's saying. Okay, don't speak, because if you speak, you'll violate one of these principles with somebody here. But anyways, just for reference, if you want to pick up any one of these. Okay, let's take the remaining hands and then any announcements that you want to make.
Dhrupji sent a message in chat that he has recently started attending sessions, and whenever he has a question, he waits for 2 days, and surprisingly, his question gets answered. What magic is this?
So Dhruji, this is something which is a great, by the way, where are you joining us from? If you can type in or talk, that will be good. I'll tell you, a lot of people on this session, they can vouch for it. You can, you'll see that one of the symptoms or one of the things that everybody of us has experienced, and that is the rule of this universe, is when you start making spirituality your priority, the floodgates open. So many answers you start getting from all many quarters that you least expected. Maybe you'll open the TV channel, you'll get something, you'll watch a movie, you'll get it. You flip a newspaper, you'll get it. Some person will tell it, somewhere you'll start getting message. That is the beauty of this path, because God is waiting. You make this a priority and I'll start providing you all that you need. So answers will come, and there will come a stage where all questions will become quiet. Now it's just about what do I need to do on a day-to-day basis. That will also happen fairly quickly. When I started on this path in this lifetime, I was like, I have so many questions that if I keep asking 10 questions every day, still 10 years are not enough. So many questions I have. I was all over the place. But believe me or not, within a matter of few months after meeting Swamiji, not that I got all the knowledge or anything like that, questions, they just quieted. It's like, okay, just makes sense. Now just focus on what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. So questions will settle down. And this is a great realization you're sharing, Dhrupji, and glad to have you on these sessions. We'd love to know more about you. If you can talk.
He just dropped a message that he is a student from New Jersey, and Vandana VG is his mom. And he just cannot. Yeah.
Very nice. We have Shyamji's daughter, Vandanaji's son. So you are getting your kids also here, which is very nice. Very nice. This is the best gift you can give yourself, Dhruv. Trust me. Read Bhagavad Gita. Look at these principles. I'm telling you, it will help you in your studies. It will help you in managing relationships professionally. When you start your career, it will just help you in all walks of life. Managing your relationships, interpersonal conflicts that are bound part and parcel of our life, pretty much all that is aspects of life. And especially during the times when we feel disappointed, the times when we have to pick ourselves up, those are the times where this knowledge is going to be like, wow, I'm so glad, I have this piece of knowledge and I can, I have an edge, and not going to behave or respond in a way that people would do in such kind of a situation. So thank you for sharing that, and please keep coming to the sessions. You will love it, I'm telling you. And this knowledge is so beautiful and so powerful that it's the best gift any one of us can give to ourselves. Okay.
Shri Ramya ji pointed out that Nitin ji, you missed out on Swadrut, like family bringing thing, I guess.
Yes, Swadrut as well. Shri Ramya brings, yes, her nephew. There are so many such examples. Family, sisters bringing sisters, brothers bringing brothers, sisters bringing brothers, brothers bringing brother is missing, I guess, right now, right? So yeah, a lot of family members.
You can probably.
What?
You can, brother bringing brother.
Okay, that's a tough one. Okay, bringing my own brother it's a little tough one for me. Okay, but yeah, we'll try. So yes, this is how typically it works. And then friends bringing friends. By the way, there's another Sandhya ji, I think Lakshmi ji and Rupa ji, it's their friend. You brought them. So there are a lot of referrals like that who have come in, which is very nice. Okay. Shirama, you had another question before we get into our set of announcements, Sandhya, if you have any.
Yeah, I have announcement. Actually, there's a question in context of that also. I have an announcement that Shweta ji is asking, do we share or can we share session summary? Like, is it possible to get the notes from each session? So I have posted the links that we do share class recordings on YouTube as well as on the community portal. And we also have session summary which is shared on the CIC WhatsApp groups as well as at the community portal. So I've shared the links of these platforms, so feel free to join and take advantage.
Yes, Shwetaji, if you can join our WhatsApp group. You'll see the summary as well as I post the video links as well. Typically a week late, but you'll be able to see those. By the way, tomorrow we're going to talk about God's Janm and Karm. Okay, how is it different from the way we do what we do in this world, and how is it different for God? Right? He says Janma Karma Chame Divyam. When people put question mark on, why did God do that, God do this, we'll talk about the technical difference between what God does and what we do. It's a very important shloka that we're going to pick up tomorrow, 4.9. Yes, any announcements, Sandhya, or any other questions?
Yes. So again, another question related announcement. So people are asking about Swamiji's visit in India. So if you want to know about Swamiji's whereabouts, you can just go and check out Swami Mukundanand website as well as JKO websites, and you will get details of all his tours and when he will be in India or in the US. So that's one thing. And Sri Ramyaji wanted to say this on a lighter note, that in our class, there appears to be two kinds of listeners, one with their video on and one with their video off. So do you have any comments on that, Nitin?
Maybe I should create a fifth category of listeners, okay? No, yeah, I prefer to have you turn your video on. It's always good to see faces. But then I'm used to blank screens as well. I've done it for 1.5 years, okay? Just looking at names, not knowing who they are until I started seeing so many faces all of a sudden, which is good. But if you can put on your camera, it's always appreciated. But yeah, if you are, a little conscious about it, that's fine too, as long as you are participating and not washing and cooking at the same time. I mean, if you're cooking and watching, that is also fine, as long as your ears are there, right? But yeah, periodically you can put on your videos whenever the chance presents, or maybe we can do once a month all video kind of a session where we can take some pictures of our participants, right? Maybe the last Thursday of a month, every month, we should just do it as a ritual where we can get to see everybody. During our first year and second year anniversaries, we did that. I know that's when I saw the most number of faces. So maybe we can do it every quarter or a month. I don't know. Can just work around that.
Yeah, we could put faces to many voices we have been hearing for so long, right? That was very nice.
Yes, faces to voices. Always good to put faces to voices and names as well. Right. But like I said, Shyamji knows that, and don't get him started now. We have seen all, all names, no faces for more than 1 year. I used to see Shyamji, Samji, and maybe one more face. That's it. Rest all blank screen. But so now when you get into the session, doesn't matter at that point. But yeah, it's always good to see faces. If you can put it, nothing like it. Okay, any other announcements, Sandhya?
Feedback tracker. So I've posted the link a couple of times, and JKO Family Camp is coming up. If you haven't registered, consider registering. You can also attend it virtually. It is the annual event, the largest annual event of JKO. It's a retreat, spiritual retreat for a week. And the fact that you can attend it virtually, do consider taking advantage of this. So I'll repost the links in the meanwhile. And do we move into the devotional
segment then? Yeah, yes. We can move to the DYF. Do we have to say, okay, is it 14 to 16?
Oh, the youth.
Yeah. Anything related to DYF that we wanted to share?
I will get the details and put them. I don't remember the dates. I'll just...
DYF, okay, just entrench it in your memory. It happens before family camp. So if you missed it this year, next year, you don't want to miss it, okay? I've made an announcement 1 year in advance. All right. Family camp is next that you don't want to miss out on. Attend it virtually or in person. In person would be the best. And I look forward to meeting you in person there. Okay, now we can move to devotional segment. You can stay back. The philosophy side is over. Tomorrow we'll continue on that. And today we will do a couple of chants probably, because Sunday night, Monday morning, we have to wrap up a little early. So maybe 2 people we can take if there are any. I see some nail biting going on. So they're making up their mind, I guess. Anybody? Okay.
Dinesh ji, and if anyone else wants to sing, please raise your hand. Okay. Yes, Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji. Please go ahead.
Yeah. तुम्ही हो माता पिता तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो माता पिता तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो साथी तुम्ही सहारे, कोई न अपना सेवा तुम्हारे, तुम्ही हो साथी तुम्ही सहारे, कोई न अपना सेवा तुम्हारे, तुम्ही हो नैया तुम्ही खेवैया, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो नैया तुम्ही खेवैया, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो, जो मिल सके ना वो फूल हम है, तुम्हारे चरणों की धूल हम है, जो खिल सके ना वो फूल हम है, तुम्हारे चरणों की धूल हम है, दया की दृष्टि सदा ही रखना, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो, दया की दृष्टि सदा ही रखना, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो माता पिता तुम्ही हो, तुम्ही हो बंधु सखा तुम्ही हो. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe Dinesh ji, that was outstanding. Loved it. Very, very nice. Very, very beautifully, melodiously sung. Just loved it. Thank you so, so much, Dinesh ji. Very, very nice. Okay.
Excellent. Deep
Excellent.
line.
Today I want to sing about Radharani, okay? It's my
Wow.
session. You just have to listen to me today. I'm just kidding. Couple of lines only. कृपा करु बरसाने वारी, तेरी कृपा का भरोसा भारी, कृपा करु बरसाने वारी, तेरी कृपा का भरोसा भारी, तेरा कोप भी कृपा है प्यारी, तेरा प्रेम भी कृपा है प्यारी, तेरा कोप भी कृपा है प्यारी, कृपा करु बरसाने वारी, तेरी कृपा का भरोसा भारी, हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल. All right. Thank you. So I have a hard stop right now. Sorry if there are any more hands. Sorry, I hijacked the session. I see one more hand here, but I have a hard stop. So I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and you can sing tomorrow, but I have to rush now. So thank you so much. Radhe Radhe, and we'll continue this fascinating discussion and our devotion tomorrow in tomorrow's discussion. So Radhe Radhe, and thank you from my side. Good night. Good night. Good day.
Wow, Nitinji, thank you so much for the beautiful bhajan. And Radhe Radhe, everyone. Thank you for joining us. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you. See you all tomorrow.